Greetings, Johnny Matthews with Cannabis Talk Show Live, and yes, we are live and direct at the Canna West Compliance Testing and Product Safety Conference in Redondo Beach from the Crown Plaza Hotel. I have a special guest here with me, Mr. James Namnath. He is the Chief Science Officer for E-Labs. That is a great testing company. So I'm going to ask Dr. James Namnath a few questions about the importance of testing in the cannabis industry. Dr. Namnath, welcome to Cannabis Talk Show Live.
Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to be with you.
Thank you, sir. Doctor, if you can, tell us the importance, your opinion, on the importance of testing in the labs for the cannabis industry.
I think that having a product that people can rely upon as being clean and as safe as possible is critical for an industry that's undergoing this newly granted legal status. The history of the product is, let's say, not so pure, okay, and that the industry should take the opportunity to be able to provide a very model product that comes in at standards that do not exist in any other product. Okay? Now the situation is that it can be done. The marijuana industry can supply clean product. I can tell you that with my boots on the ground in the state of Oregon and my work in the state of Colorado, clean product is being provided there. It wasn't easy. In the very beginning, in the first year, the vast majority, sometimes up to 80% of products, failed. But the state regulatory authorities stuck to their guns, provided no exemptions, no excuses, didn't worry about shortages in the field. They just stuck to their guns, and here we are 1 to 2, 3 years later, and we've got clean product out there. And it's vital for the product to be clean, because there is no other product in the world applied and exposed to human beings in the most varied ways as marijuana is. All right?
Absolutely, yes.
There's no food ingredient that you stick in your eye. There's no food ingredient that you stick in other places. Okay? This thing is is more safety concerns about it, and rightfully so. So the function of the laboratory is vital. We are basically the enforcement people to have a clean product. You don't get that in your grocery stores. Did you know that none of the products in a grocery store are tested for being clean and safe?
Wow.
It's just an assumption. Okay? We've had programs in the past, and you might remember a few shopping markets that said, oh, we have pesticide-free products and some independent lab tests them. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. And when someone says organic product, do you really know if it's organic? Who tests that? The fact of the matter is, do a little research. Nobody tests that. All right? So this is going to be the first industry where it is going to be rigorously tested, and the consumers will have a clean product, and it's needed to be so. And there's a history of this product. That's the unspoken legacy of tainted product in the past that has caused problems. I don't want to go into too much detail about that. Maybe I should go into detail about that.
Maybe you should just share.
Okay, so let me go back to my first exposure to pesticides residues found in marijuana. It goes back to the early 1980s, when the United States government, using their surplus Huey helicopters from the Vietnam War, supplied a product to the Mexican government to spray on marijuana fields. Okay, and I worked for a company that supplied the chemical, and we said, what the heck are the government doing with our chemical? It was never meant to do that. Okay, and so you had this situation that we researched on where the U.S. government was buying an herbicide that could kill the plant within 1 day. It'll make it look black. And they would take these Huey helicopters and spray them on the marijuana fields. But you know what? The local growers figured it all out. And what they did is when they heard those Huey helicopters, and you know what they sound like, came over the hill, the growers would immediately go right in the fields and harvest the crop. Why? Because if they harvested it and kept it out of sunlight, the plants would stay green and could be sellable. If they waited 1 day, the plants would be shriveled up and black. And unsellable. So here the United States government resulted in totally pesticide-contaminated marijuana throughout the 70s and 80s. And I am a chemist. I'm not a medical doctor, but I want to tell you, you might be able to connect the dots because that chemical with its impurities has been connected to Parkinson's disease.
Wow.
Irreversible Parkinson's disease. Can you imagine smoking one joint and having Parkinson's disease the rest of your life?
Oh my God.
I'm just going to say that's the potential of having the wrong stuff in this kind of application. When you're smoking it or applying it in very, high efficiency delivery methods, you have to be careful what's in the product.
Absolutely.
And so I'm a little bit passionate about it. So I've encountered this. I've spent all my whole life doing pesticide, my professional career in pesticide research. I understand how to do analysis and stuff like that. But I also understand what the problems are. And the main thing is pesticides are not meant to be inhaled. They're not meant to be put into eye drops or on skin penetrating topicals.
Yes.
All right, or as an edible. That is not supposed to happen. But this is the use pattern of marijuana, and the underlying state regulations somewhat understand that, and so they're subjecting the product to very strict testing requirements, as no other consumer product does. And I'm saying that's really vital. We've got to have clean product. We can get clean product. And lastly, I've been doing some analysis of California pot. It's unbelievably tainted. Wow. Unbelievably.
So we welcome July 1st. July 1st, everything.
We hope everything happens, and we hope it happens. But the problem is that the state of California has done a little shadow boxing in the past, so we don't know if July 1st is really going to come through. And there was a January 1 set of rules come out, but the problem is the state said, "Oh, that's optional." Well, you know how many people opted for it? It's like the O in optional. It's kind of zero. All right, nobody did any testing, so the industry hasn't progressed since the beginning of the year now. And so now is the time, and now we're going to see if people are going to really comply.
In California.
In California.
Yes.
As they have in other states. They were stuck to the feet to the fire, and Colorado and Oregon, and I think Washington, but for sure I have data in Oregon and Colorado. Those are very clean crops now, and the state authorities should be very proud of themselves that they did that. All right, and that's what the state. I urge this, and I try whenever I can to urge the California regulators: stick to your guns. Don't worry about shortages. Don't worry about this. Just make sure it's clean, because in the long term, that's what you want.
Excellent, Ken, amazing. You know, if you can, take us through a brief summary of a lab testing a particular product in cannabis, maybe the flower.
So when you're testing flower, you're testing for several important things in terms of the product quality. You know, how much THC, how much CBD, how much terpenes, right? Those are simple things. And that basically doesn't flunk you or anything like that. But that has to be done in a very ethical way. There are laboratories in California that have been known to give you the result you want. All right, so that's the heritage of the California testing. In fact, dispensaries told producers where to go to get their stuff tested, because you'll get 25% THC out of it. They can sell it for a higher price. That is what's. I'm sorry to tell the industry this, but that's what's been going on. So you had a kind of a collaborative things where things were sliding and the quality wasn't there. So that was one test, is potency. So there's other tests that are like, does it have mold, mildew? Does it have trash in it? Is it really, stuff like that? And we test for those kinds of things. But the real important test, the one that is difficult for growers to pass, is it free of pesticide residues? In the state of California, there's a list of about 77 chemicals that are not supposed to be on the plant when it's harvested and sent to the testing laboratories. Now, that's an extensive list. Probably about 20 of them are really important. Those are 20 things that the growers can go down to Home Depot or do something and get it. There's another difficulty with pesticides in California, in that there's a lot of people in the supply chain, and we're talking suppliers of nutrients and fertilizers and grow store hydroponic supplies, that the grower doesn't even know have already been tainted. If you see a product on the shelf that says Big Bud Formula, it really does make big buds, but there's a reason why, all right? And so you can go on the web, website. Look up Big Bud Formula. You can see some pictures of people said, yeah, man, if you do this, it really, and they'll show you pictures with and without. Well, that's an illegal chemical that's in there, all right? And my survey of, I've been surveying products for California producers the last 6 months because it's optional. They sent us stuff, dozens of samples. I hate to say this, but after about 6 dozen samples, none of them pass. None of them pass, and the growers and the producers are saying they do not know where this stuff came from. Wow. Because they're not in control of. See, no matter how good your grower is, and your grower says, "Man, I've been doing this 25 years. I'm an organic guy, and I watch that crop every day." He can't watch everything. He doesn't know where the fertilizers came from. He doesn't have total control over everything, and so as a result, these things slip by. In addition, growers in a shop in a greenhouse probably don't own it, but they sure want to make sure the crop looks good to the owner. And if they come in on a Monday morning and it's full of powdery mildew, they're going to go out to Home Depot and they're just going to, treat it just well. The same with if they detect mites or something like that. So mildew and mites are the main things, and those things, if you don't watch them closely, can crop up in a grow practically overnight. And so the practice of, there are the producers that make the money off of the grow aren't necessarily the people who tend to the crop day to day. Okay? And so this is where things get a little slippery, and this is why having a laboratory, you can't do this on an honor system. We can't say, oh, Farmer John is an organic farmer, so therefore his stuff is good. We're not going to take their word for it. So
Great.
This is why the laboratory is a vital function.
Absolutely. All right, James, if you can, how many times does your lab, E-Labs, test a particular product? Does it go through 3 parts of testing? What is that process?
Well, the standard California testing is like 7 different tests. Okay, so you're using like 7 different machines. Some of them are very simple. They test the moisture content or something we call water activity. Others are just simple, visual inspection that doesn't contain rodent droppings, things like that. But then there's some very complicated ones. So there's 6 and 7 different processes per type. Now, as far as products go, because in the marijuana industry, you have the harvesting of the flower, and then you often process that into an extracted product, an oil, or with something or rather, and then you have further processing into, say, an edible. Every step along the way, one has to test again for all the same qualities.
Wow.
Okay, so if you have, for example, an edible product, it probably was tested 3 times to get to that stage. A vape pen cartridge, 3 to 4 times before you get to it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Namnath, you have been an excellent source of information. Thank you so much for being a part of Cannabis Talk Show Live and sharing this vital information to our listening viewers. Thank you so much.
It can be done. A safe crop can be done. Just have to stick to your guns.
All right. And one last piece of information. Tell our listening viewers, how would they contact E-Labs?
Well, we have a website, E-Labs, elabsus.com, elabsus.com. Now, here's a detail. We only can process samples as per a distributor or a micro business. We cannot deal directly with a producer in terms of the state-certified testing. All right, because the state wants us to be a good, arbitrary judge of stuff. You can contact us for what we call quality assurance testing. So a grower can contact us, and we will put them in a program, all right, where we monitor your crop entirely during the grow. Because I'm gonna tell you, if you're a producer and you bought these clones that are already contaminated, that will not pass the test. You want to know that in week 1 or 2, not at harvest time. So you can hire us to do a complete quality assurance program. We come in, we test your crop during the entire grow. And we're looking in various ways to see if not just pesticide contamination, but the presence of the pests. So we have tests that uses genetic information testing that can tell us when there's mites or mildew, which are the two most common things, and we'll say, hey, you need to treat those mites and mildew right now. And so that's a service we perform in what we call our quality assurance things. So we do quality assurance and compliance testing.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much, Mr. James Namnath with E-Labs. Thank you for being a part of Cannabis Talk Show Live.
Yes,
Until
cannabis.
next time.
Bye.